You know when you look into a financial product, like, say, indexed universal life insurance, and you just get hit with a wall of contradictory advice? It's crazy. On one hand, you've got people telling you it's this amazing wealth-building machine, and on the other, you hear it's an absolute trap.
So, who's right? I mean, how can one single financial vehicle get people so fired up on both sides? In this explainer, we're going to unpack the arguments, drawing right from our source material to try and figure out what is really going on with IUL.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. In this corner, you've got one of the biggest names in personal finance, Dave Ramsey. And he does not mince words. He's describing a product that basically, over time, just eats itself alive. A total self-destruct sequence.
But then, our source material points to this. 54. That's how many different cash value life insurance policies a former SEC chairman, Paul Atkins, reportedly owns. So you have one expert calling them complete crap, and another guy who you'd think knows his way around the financial world is buying them up by the dozen. So what gives?
All right, let's unpack that piece of crap argument first. And here's the thing. According to our source, that viewpoint, it isn't exactly wrong. It's just describing a very, very specific and, frankly, a really terrible way to structure one of these policies.
So here's the scenario they're talking about. You set up a policy for the biggest possible death benefit, but you pay the smallest possible premium. Well, the internal cost of insurance, that goes up as you get older, right? That's just a fact of life. And eventually, that rising cost gets higher than what you're paying in. So where does the policy get the extra money? It starts eating its own cash value just to stay afloat. And that's the death spiral Ramsey is talking about.
But what if that is just completely the wrong way to use this tool? The source comes back with a really powerful counter-argument. The problem isn't the product itself. It's all about the design. It comes down to this. Are you using it as an expense or are you using it as an asset? And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, that's the policy Ramsey is describing. It's all about the death benefit. But on the right, that's a policy designed for cash growth. It completely flips the script. You get the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with, and you cram in the most premium you can. The goal here isn't the insurance. Not really. It's about using the special tax shelter chassis of a life insurance policy to grow your money.
And to make this super clear, the source uses this brilliant analogy. Just think of your IUL policy as a bucket, and the whole game is to fill this bucket with your own cash.
So check out how this works. Step 1, you design the policy with the smallest possible death benefit the IRS allows. That death benefit, that's the empty space in the bucket. It's the insurance company's risk. Step 2, you pour in as much cash as you can, as fast as you can. Now, step 3 is where the magic happens. As your cash level rises, it pushes out the company's risk, right? If the death benefit is $1 million and you've got $500,000 in cash, the company's only on the hook for the other $500,000. And here is the key takeaway. As that empty space shrinks, your actual cost of insurance goes down because you're basically insuring yourself with your own money.
Okay, so we filled the bucket, but how does the cash inside actually grow? Well, that's where the indexed part of indexed universal life kicks in.
So the growth of your cash value is linked to how a stock market index does, maybe the S&P 500. But, and this is so important, your money isn't actually in the stock market. This allows for a 0% floor. So if the market totally tanks, you lose nothing, zilch. Then your gains get locked in, usually every year. Now the trade-off is your upside might be limited by a cap, or you might have to pay what's called a spread, which is basically a fee on your returns.
And here's a real-world example from a nationwide product that our source mentions. You could go with a simple cap strategy on the S&P 500. Or you could choose an uncapped strategy. No ceiling on your gains, but the insurance company takes a percentage, that spread, off the top. And you can see there are even options for more aggressive indexes, like the NASDAQ 100.
So what does that actually mean in terms of performance? Well, the source showed the back-tested historical returns for one of these uncapped strategies. And wow, look at those annualized returns. We're talking consistently in the double digits. And don't forget, this is growth you can potentially access completely tax-free.
Okay, now for the ultimate stress test. Our source gives this unbelievable example from the 2020 crash. In March, the market absolutely plummets, down 30%. In your IUL, you get a 0. You don't lose a dime. Then, after the crash, at the new market bottom, you can reallocate your money into an aggressive uncapped strategy. Fast forward 1 year, the market has rocketed back up 66%. And after that spread was taken out, the clients in the source's example saw a credit of over 61%. Think about that. You completely sidestepped the crash and then got to ride the entire wave back up from the very bottom.
So let's bring it all back home. How can you have one guy like Dave Ramsey saying this product is trash, and another guy like a former SEC chair owning 54 of them? How are they looking at the same thing so differently? Well, the answer, according to our source, is that they're not talking about the same thing at all. A minimally funded, high-cost insurance policy designed for a death benefit is a terrible investment. But a max-funded, low-cost policy designed for tax-free cash accumulation, that's a completely different financial tool, built for a completely different job.
And that kind of leaves us with this final, really important thought to chew on. Maybe the whole debate about whether a product is good or bad is the wrong conversation. Maybe the real question we should be asking is, what was this tool designed to do, and is that what I'm trying to accomplish? Because its value isn't universal. It's all in the design.